Um, all right, hello everyone. Thank you for joining. I hope you can see lots of inspiring data visualizations in this presentation. And it's all going to be about connections. So I'm probably guessing that you've heard the saying that everything is connected at some point in your life. And although I don't want to debate whether or not everything is connected, I have noticed that connections can be found everywhere. Connections really are a part of us, of the world, from connections between people, between cultures, within language and nature itself. And some being little connections, while others connect us across time, and yet others exist only through the meaning we as humans give them. And in these days, when more data is being collected every day than we could ever hope to explore, the variety in connections being gathered is opening up the possibilities to visualize more of these complex networks. So I've been focused on data visualization for a few years now, and I like to take on the bigger data sets, those that have a lot of diversity, so I can show context and other stories besides the main insight. And ever since starting freelancing in 2017, expanding the range of datasets that I get to work with, I noticed that a lot of my visuals can be seen as revealing connections. Some very obvious and some more subtle, some ending up as actual network visualizations, while others use a different visual form to best display the insights. I was actually connected to the Guardian US by a mutual friend, which is a newspaper. And through the Gates Foundation, they have an entire news section on their website that goes into homelessness in America. And for their flagship piece about how homeless people were being bussed around the country with one-way tickets, they were kind of looking for outside help. They've been requesting data from cities and shelters for a year, and they needed someone to bring the insights to life through visualizations. And because I knew the scope of this project was more than I could handle alone, I actually asked Shirley from my Data Sketches collaboration to become my partner on this project. So with my data science background, I took the data cleaning and analysis part on me. And of course, each of the cities and shelters had sent over information about the bus tickets they'd given out in Excels and PDFs. And of course, each of them was completely different. However, the truly bad part came in the shape of typos and state errors. Because to properly know where each of the homeless people were actually sort of moving to, I needed an existing city for each destination. So I created a collection of fuzzy text matching techniques that would try and figure out the actual destination in case when an exact match wasn't found when I compared it to an official data set of US city names. Um, I always made sure that I would sort of manually check each of these corrections that was done to see if they were correct. But I also spent quite a lot of time on Google trying to find the actual location in cases where even the fuzzy matching wasn't able to figure it out. And that's what I've come to realize actually that the US should never have created four states that start with the letters MI. That would have saved me hours. But after all of the data cleaning was done, resulting in almost 35,000 journeys, the analysis began. And I created really tons of simple plots, trying to dissect the data in different ways, looking for trends. What about age versus gender? What about big versus small cities? What about, what was the most popular destination? But what if you try to account for distance? And just visualizing all of these 35,000 journeys on a map would be an important part of it all. But plotting 35,000 lines on a map like this was looking like absolute chaos. So I knew that needed quite a different visual approach. Well, partly due to lucky timing, everybody involved could be in the same room together for 2 days, during which we figured out the main story that we wanted to tell and also the designs for the visuals to create that would support each of the different conclusions throughout the story. And Shirley and me divided up these visuals, and my main one would be that map of the US revealing all of these journeys. And already during these 2 days, I created these sort of sketches where I thought, well, instead of showing all of these lines, I wanted it to be animated. I wanted each journey to really become its own thing, its own streamlet moving from start to finish. And then as the animation went on, these sort of circles would start to grow behind the cities to reveal how many of the homeless actually moved there. Well, back home, I was ready to start programming it, and I really wanted to focus on the animations first. So I took the most basic map of the US that I could find, and just everybody became a point, and everybody started and ended at the same time. I didn't really think about how that might look. I pressed refresh, and then I saw like 10 little USs growing into a bigger one, which is a little weird. Even if I made everything have the same speed, that just made it look like shockwaves going across the US, which of course wasn't much better. but then making sure that throughout this animation timeline that each person actually left on the day that they basically took their bus made it look a lot more real in a way, well, as schematically real as it can look. And then I tried lots of different things actually to add stuff to the visuals, such as being able to follow certain persons for a little while. But eventually we kind of scaled that back and really just kept it to these animations because that was really the main point, to show all of these journeys happening. So this is the article, and here we already have the map. And this map uses something that is called scrolly telling, where actually the map stays in place and then this text sort of scrolls over it while the map changes states depending on sort of the text that is over it, so that they're kind of in sync. What is in the text is sort of displayed in the visual. We're coming up to the animations now. Here we are. So really the goal was that it would really just kind of show and give an idea of the sheer amount of journeys happening, and that the homeless were really going through places all across the US. So there are so many more data visualizations in this project, as well as videos and photos and interviews to really try and find a balance between the personal stories and the high level insights that this rich data set gave us. If you want, you can actually read this article. If you Google for bust out, it should probably come up pretty high.